Hey, what is going on, Fan Clan? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Phantom. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you had a really good week last week. I hope you have a great week this week doing some fun Pokemon stuff. I've got a fun prop for today's video. It's very dusty, but if you don't know what this is the XY Premium Trainer Collection. There's nothing in it. It's it's empty. I don't have a sealed one, but I did have. I remember when this set came out, or when this box came out, there wasn't a whole lot of hype. You can see how dusty it is. It's just been sitting on a shelf for so long. There wasn't a whole lot of hype behind this product. The alternate arts were a little bit new at the time, but a lot of these cards had already rotated out of competitive play, and a lot of players weren't like, well, I already have the original, I already have the regular art version of it, I don't need another copy of it. And there wasn't a whole lot of thought behind like alternate arts and blowing up in price or anything like that. There's only a couple of booster packs inside, so for the price tag that came behind it, a lot of people were like, well, I'm not really interested in that. I remember ordering some of them. I think I opened up a couple of them on the channel at the time. It just wasn't like, I have the box still because it was a cool box and it's been sitting. I thought maybe I could use it to store sleeves or something. I don't know why I still have it. I still have it. And I thought, okay, well, this will make a good use for the prop because this is what we are talking about in today's video. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, in March of 2023, PokeRev put out a video really covering this product much better, opening it up, showing the contents and things like that. After that, the price started really climbing up quite a bit. And it's a very interesting product because alternate arts have garnered a ton of attention over the past couple of years. So he did a great job going over everything that was inside it. Obviously, we're not going to open one, but we are going to look at the actual product and see, is it worth it to buy right now? Because the price point of this product is very, very expensive. So if you look at the actual product right now, the market price, and this is from TCG Player, you can find them for cheaper, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but $664.66 is the current market price according to TCG Player. Basically what that means is some of these have sold on TCG Player. They have sold around that price, at that price point. Those are the more recent sales, and because of that, that's what the new established market price is according to TCG Player, at least specific to TCG Player. So at one point in time, you can see in July of 2023, so not too long after that video came out, it was selling for about $423. So $423.38. It continued to jump up a little bit, and then at the end of last year, it sat at $674.50. If you have one of these right now, you can still find them for about $600, maybe a little bit less than that if you look hard enough, but you don't get a whole lot inside this box. You get a couple of booster packs, you get a deck box, I think you get some sleeves in there, but ultimately it's just a lot of alternate arts, a lot of alternate art variants of cards that are already in existence. They do the exact same attack, and because of that, this was not a very popular product. But we're going to go through these cards because it's very interesting how bad these cards are to grade. They're very, very difficult, and because of that, they're very expensive when it comes to actual like pristine copies of these. So this is the best of XY. You can see this is one of the cards that are inside. This is the delinquent right here. In December of 2023, this was sitting at $26.02. Started gaining a little bit of ground over the past few months. So it's sitting at $32.38 currently, which is about 20% higher than where it was at the beginning of the year, but still way down from where it was in July of 2023. So a year ago, we had a lot of attention that was given to Sun and Moon era alternate arts, X and Y era alternate arts. We saw tag teams blow up, especially a lot of alternate arts around this time last year, a little bit before this time last year. We saw the Latias and Latios cross $1,000. It was crazy, all the attention that was being paid to them, and because of that, these blew up in price. You can see in July of 2023, it was sitting at $37.06. So it's lower than that now still, but it's right in between its 1 year high and 1 year low. But if you look up there, not a whole lot. We're going to look at the pop report at the end of this presentation, but if you look right now, the last sold PSA 10, there wasn't one. I looked on 30 Point, I couldn't find anything for a PSA 10 copy. Now there is some that was sold over in Japan. Japanese variants I think were different, but the PSA 9, the last one that sold, $141. So a huge premium that was put on some of the higher graded ones. And the reason behind that is because if you look inside this, and I know it's going to be a little bit difficult to see, but these were all covered in like plastic. There was plastic all over the place. They shuffled around in the box a lot, and because of that, you have damaging that happened, whitening issues that happened. Not that the Pokemon quality is a whole lot better right now, but very difficult to grade in PSA 10. So here is the N. N was a huge card in competitive play. It was something where you basically had 4 copies of N in every single deck, and because of that, the full art N from, I think it was Noble Victories when it first came out, was basically a $100 card all the time. Anytime it was able to be played, it was basically a $100 card. It's one of the few cards right now that is actually cheaper to buy now than it was during its heyday of competitive play. But here's an alternate art variant that came in to the format. This is kind of a reprint of the Fates Collide one, which is just a regular art. You can see in October of 2023, it was sitting at that one-year high of $65.67. It's only about 10% below that right now, but it did drop about 20% at one time. In December of 2023, it was sitting at $56.84. It's climbed a little bit, sitting at $60.47 currently. Again, last sold PSA 10, there is none. None that I could find, but the last sold PSA 9, much, much higher, $110. So definitely a premium on even a PSA 9 copy right there. Here's the Karen. Karen was a different kind of beast because Karen was only available in a promo box, and then the full art variant, obviously, again, only available in a promo box. So it was a fairly decent card in competitive play, not necessarily a staple in every deck, but definitely something that got used. In July of 2023, this was sitting at $52.70. It lost quite a bit of value. That current value up there is wrong. You can see the actual current value is $37.04, which is just barely higher than its one-year low of $34.40, but it's dropped quite a bit of value. It's been fairly consistent ever since December, but if you look at the last sold PSA 10 on eBay, $950. So that card alone, if you were to open one of this up, let's say you have one of these lying around and you're looking at them and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to grade these because the pop report is so low. $950 for a PSA 10, worth more than the box by itself, which is absolutely insane. Here's the Evital EX. Evital EX was a huge competitive card with that evil ball attack right there, basically doing damage based off of the amount of energies that's on your side and your opponent's side of the field. It was definitely a card that was used a lot in competitive formats until later on. After it had been out for a while, there was a lot of different variants that were better than Evital EX. It just couldn't hit hard enough, and its 170 HP was a little bit of a liability. But at one point in time in October, this was sitting at $47.86. Hasn't changed that much over the past year. It's a little bit lower now, about 10% cheaper, sitting at $43.39. But again, another card, if you look at the last sold PSA 10, $875. So all of these prices that I was able to find were found on 30 Point, but a huge premium on PSA 10 rather than just a normal near mint copy of $43.39. Absolutely insane. You do have some cards that are just full arts, not full art ultra rares, like this Jirachi right here. Jirachi in December of 2023 had gained up to $39.21, currently sitting at $37.97. So not a whole lot of difference there between your one-year high and one-year low. At one point in time, it had dropped down to $36.18. That was in July of 2023. Started gained about 10%. It's given most of that back. Again, sitting just shy of $38 currently, so only about a 5% difference there. But again, your last sold PSA 10, $555. So another huge premium that's on a PSA 10. Here's the Hex Maniac. Hex Maniac was an important card in competitive play. That's why they produced this Best of XY, because it was kind of a tribute, kind of like what we had from Celebrations, where they celebrated 25 years of Pokemon. The Best of XY was more of a celebration of some cards during the XY era, some trainer cards and some Pokemon cards that were actually very vital to a lot of people's decks. Here's Hex Maniac right here. In October of 2023, it was sitting at $82.24. It's lost quite a bit of that. It dropped all the way down to $56.34 in December. Very large drop. And then now it's gained a little bit of it back. It's sitting at $75.07 currently, so not too far off of its one-year high. Last sold PSA 10, nothing. The lowest listed one right now is $3,000, which is absolutely crazy. Very, very expensive. Now, I don't think that there's a reason it's lowest listed and it hasn't sold yet, but $3,000 lowest listed. Obviously, once something happens where the market gets established for a PSA 10, very, very expensive. Again, another huge premium that gets put on the PSA 10. Here's Shauna. Now, this one wasn't overly competitive. It kind of came out at a time where we didn't really have a whole lot of other draw support when it came to consistency, and had rotated out and wasn't getting reprinted again until Fates Collide. So when Shauna originally came out, it was kind of important to the format because it allowed you to at least draw. It was kind of either this one or you played maybe Professor Birch in your deck. But in July of 2023, all the way up until October of 2023, it was sitting right around $57, $57.43. It lost quite a bit of that, over 20%. And in December, it dropped down to $40 and a penny. It's gained a little bit of it back, but not even 10%. It's sitting at $43.83 currently. Again, no last sold listing for the PSA 10, but the lowest listed one one right now is $700, so still fairly expensive on that one. Team Flare Grunt was important just to be able to discard a special energy. It was kind of a card that was played a lot in Seismitoad EX, kind of a good disruption card right there. In October of 2023, not a very expensive card. It was sitting at $10.03. It dropped down to $7.58 in March of 2024. Barely has gained anything back. It's sitting at $7.96 currently, so about 20% below where it was in July of 2023. Not a whole lot of premium on this one. You can see no last sold PSA 10. The PSA 9 currently listed or currently selling for about $20, so not a huge premium on Team Flare Grunt. The Mega Sharpedo EX, very cool looking card, not used a whole lot in competitive play, so this one was a little bit more surprising. In October of 2023, it was sitting at $12.36. It lost most of its value, dropped down to $9.88, so about 25% of its value. Now it's rebounded a little bit, sitting at $11.12 currently, but the last sold PSA 10, $225, so again, another very large premium on that one. Same thing with the Mega Camera. This card has actually jumped up a lot in price. You can see very consistent $4 for the value all the way up until March of 2024. Then it over doubled in price over the past couple months, so that could have some stuff to do with the reintroduction or the possible reintroduction of Megas, but this one blew up in price. It's sitting at $10.72, so it's over doubled in price, but again, huge premium on the PSA 10, which is kind of the highlight of the video. The PSA 10 price in this one last sold was $400 on that one. The Shaman EX, obviously, if you've been involved in Pokemon for any sort of time, you probably know a lot about Shaman EX and how vital it was, how pivotal it was to competitive play. Everybody was running 4 copies of Shaman EX in their deck. At one point in time, the regular art Shaman was selling for $50, $60. Now they're only selling for like $5. But when it was in format, it was so important to increase consistency in your deck. In October of 2023, it was sitting at a one-year high of $42.31. It did end up losing about 15% of its value. In December of 2023, it had dropped to $36.42, but it's gained a lot of that back. So it's sitting at $41.02 currently. But again, last sold PSA 10 for this one, $500. Blacksmith. Blacksmith was a kind of an unimportant card for a lot of fire decks. In October of 2023, it was sitting at $12.74. Not a very expensive card. It dropped down to $9.35 in January of 2024, or $8.68 in January of 2024. It's gained a little bit back, sitting at $9.35. Last PSA 10 on this one, $220. The Regirock EX Full Art, kind of an important card when you were dealing with stadium cards, but October of 2023, it had jumped up to $5.67. Not a whole lot of movement on this one. You're only looking about 10% difference between its high and its low, which only ends up being about 50%, and no last sold copy according to 30 Point for a PSA 10 of the Regirock EX. Same thing with the Aegislash. Not a whole lot of information out there as far as last sold listings. Again, the pop reports are very low on a lot of these, which we'll look at in a second here. March of 2024, this one was $3.80. It's sitting at $4.07 currently, so not very high. Here's the pop report that we were talking about. I'm going to remove my face so you don't see it. You can actually look at the pop report right here. But the column on the right-hand side is the total amount that were graded, and the column just left of that is the amount of PSA 10s in existence. So if we're looking at that full art Regirock, there's only 22 PSA 10s out there. The Aegislash EX, there's only 32 of. The Team Flare Grunt, there's only 46 of. That Hex Maniac, the lowest one that was listed at $3,000, part of that is because there's only 81 PSA 10s that are available out there. The full art Shaman EX, there's only 114 PSA 10s. The full art Blacksmith, there's only 40 PSA 10s. The Delinquent, the first one on the slideshow, there's only 37 PSA 10s. The full art N, there's 112 PSA 10s, and the full art Shauna, there's 87 PSA 10s. So there's more cards in there than just this. I just pulled up some of them, but very interesting to look at. This is the I kind of wanted to highlight what you get if you decide, hey, I want to take a chance and I want to buy the premium collection. There's a website down here. This is Sweets and Geeks. I've never ordered from Sweets and Geeks before, but it looks like they have one available or multiples available for about $600. But there was one on eBay for $529.99, still sealed. So you can find them for cheaper than that $640 price tag that we were looking at as far as the market price, or $660 price tag. This is totals of what you get. So the raw cards, if I add up all the raw cards, all the near mint copies of these cards right here that we kind of went through, you get $419.81. So that's how much value you can expect to pull of them if you don't grade any of them. You do get a Primal Clash booster pack in there. That's about $18.49. The Roaring Skies pack, you also get one of theirs, one of those in the trainer collection. That's about $18.53. Like I said, you do get the sleeves, the deck box, a couple other things that are ancillary goods, which probably don't add a ton of value to it. So your total value that you can look at when you open this thing up is about $416 or $456.83. Obviously, it costs more than that to buy. Now, your big value is going to be if you do grade them and you find something that's a PSA 10 or at least PSA 10 quality, but it's definitely a risk. And I kind of want to highlight, very interesting box. Pokemon doesn't do anything like this anymore. You can let me know in the comment section down below if you think they should do something like this again, but definitely a very interesting product to kind of look at. It was a one-off product, but if you look now, a year and a half later, obviously the price point much more expensive, $530 for one of these boxes if you buy it on eBay, and then this is the value of the contents. Now, obviously, I don't know grading very well. I've never graded, or I haven't graded that much before, so definitely something to consider. But you can let me know in the comment section down below what you think. I thought it would be kind of interesting to cover, just because there's not really a whole lot of other products out there like this, where you have such a low pop report, and the majority of the product is made up of just singles, which is very interesting to me. So I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a long way for the algorithm, but ultimately just thank you for taking the time to listen, to talk about Pokemon. Love you guys. I really appreciate you. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, I'm holding up my fingers to say peace, and you can't even see me because I clicked off. Okay, peace. See ya.